Hello and welcome to my channel, Making Crafts. Today we're going to make a cute little ornament that can be an ornament as well as a gift box or treat box. So for this project, I'm going to be using the Grinch Hand Die set as well as the Stitch Circle dies. And I've gone ahead and cut all of my pieces out of the Grinch Hand Die set, and I'm using the Merry Grinchmas Paper pack, and I'm just going to use several pieces from this pack for the pieces from my dies. I've also gone ahead and cut out two of the smallest stitch circles, as well as the stitch frame and two larger stitch circles for my ornament. And this little piece here is the only piece I left out of the die set. I didn't feel like I needed it because I'm going to use the piece underneath it on there. And so I think that it'll be fine without it. And so I've gone ahead and made the frame as well with my stitch dies by using just two of the circles to create a frame. And I'm also using the silver glitter paper pack to create the cuff and just a little ornament topper from the die set. So I've also cut a piece of red cardstock, and it measures 8 by 4 3/4. And so I want to score this piece of cardstock first, and this is going to be our treat box or gift box. And I'm going to use my cat scrappiness scoring tool, and I will link below to this tool. And I'm going to put the 8-inch side of my paper to the top of my scoring board, and I'm going to score at a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to score again at 1 1/2, and then at 4 1/4. And then once again, I'm going to score at 5 1/4. And I always like to check it when I turn it around. As long as from the end to that score line measures 2 3/4, then we've got all of our score lines correct. So now I'm going to take the 4 3/4 inch side, and I'm going to put it at the top of my scoreboard, and I'm going to score at 1 inch, and then again at 3 3/4. And it's that simple to create this little box. So now we just need to trim away some of the flaps. So you can see all the score lines here. So I'm going to start at the top where the 1/2 inch score line is, and I'm going to trim away the first two little flaps up there. So what I want to do is I want to come in and I want to just cut at an angle and cut the two flaps off on each side. So there's two little flaps on each side that I'm going to cut off, and I'm going to leave that flap in the center. And that is going to be the top of our box that we tuck in. So for the next flaps, I just want to trim down to my score line and just cut a little wedge in there. And I'm going to cut wedges each time I trim on my score lines. I'm going to just cut a little wedge out, and that just helps everything to fold up nicely without binding up. So I'm going to come down to about the center of our score lines, and I'm just going to trim into this little square flap. So I skipped the longer rectangle, and I'm just trimming in at the next little square flap and cutting some little wedges in there. And then I'm just going to go over to the other side and do the exact same thing. And then I'm going to come around to the top here of the box, and I'm just going to cut a small little slant on each of my flaps, and that will just help when we're folding it up. And I'm going to come back and cut some of these wedges just a little larger. I feel like I did not trim enough away on a couple of them, so I'm just going to fix those before I start to fold the box up. And this box fits, I think, 2 or 3 Reese cups. I'll have to try again and let you know, but it holds quite a bit of candy in it. So now we're just going to start out by gluing the small little flaps, the ones that was midway down. We're just going to add glue to the outside of those flaps, and then we're going to glue it to the inside of the bottom rectangle flaps. And it's easier to do when you're not trying to show it on camera. I was trying to keep the box where you could see what I was doing, but it's really hard not to get my hands in the way. So hopefully you can still see how to put this together. So once I have those glued down, I'm going to come back and I'm going to add glue to the longer flap near the top. And the reason I'm adding it to this flap is so that when I fold it down, there isn't any glue sticking out. If I put it on the other piece, there may be some glue still showing. And be sure the piece that you're wrapping around is the flap that has the little square flaps on the end. If that makes sense, you can see the little flaps that's supposed to be at the top of your box. And I think it's really easy just to watch me do this instead of, I don't know if my explanation is good enough, but just watching me put this together, I think you can figure out how this goes together. And when you get done, it reminds me of a crayon box, the shape and all. Now, I do use my scoring tool, and this is from Cat Scrappiness as well, so I will link to it below. I really like this tool for pressing everything down together. And I just press inside the box to get all of my pieces to be really glued tight together. And then you just tuck your little flap in and you have a little box here. And you could put a gift in here, or you could just put candy in there or some other treat. So now that we have this little treat box created, let's go ahead and begin to create the ornament. So I'm just going to pull out all of my pieces here. And I do want to lay everything out. So this background piece is hard to see on camera, but it does have a pattern on it. And so I want to make sure when I lay it down that I keep those little snowflake stars pointing the right direction so that everything's pointing up and down like it's supposed to. But I'm going to start out first by gluing together my little Grinch hand. And this little hand is so adorable. So all I'm going to do is just glue the little sleeve onto his arm. And then I will attach the cuff, the little fluffy cuffs to his arms, the little Santa fluff. I'm not really sure what you call that, but it's the cuff of the little Santa suit. I'm going to add that to his arm. And this is a really fun die because to me, these dies feel like a craft kit kind of set because you just cut the pieces out and glue them together, and they're so easy for everything to go together. There's not a lot of work to be done, but there's also not a lot of thinking that you have to do. You just glue, everything's just made perfect that you can just glue it together. So I am going to go ahead first, before I glue everything to the base, I am going to go ahead and add the little ornament topper to the top of my ornament so that can be drying while I'm putting everything together. And I do use my little Cat Scrappiness tweezers for this because it is a little tiny piece, and so it's a little hard to hold with my fingers. But I think it really does set off the ornament and make it look like a cute little ornament. So now all I'm going to do is attach the Grinch hand to the background piece. And I just want to be sure that I line it up so that it looks like he's holding the little ornament. So I like to dry fit everything first before I start gluing everything down. I want to just dry fit and make sure it looks correct. Once I make sure it looks correct, then I'm just going to add the glue and add the little Grinch hand to my base. In the description below, I will link to all of the items that I'm using today. There is a huge release, though, not just this items, but many more items have been added to the shop for the winter and Christmas season. And so just keep an eye out for more videos. I will be joining in more hops showing more of the items, but I'll also be having some more videos on my own without the hops showing more of the items that are released this month. So now I'm just going to add the frame over the little Grinch arm, and so I'm just covering up the little edge of his arm. And then I'm just going to come back in and add the ornament to his hand. Since I did just already put his little hand down, I'm just going to use my tweezers to pull his little hand up. The glue is still wet. That's the good thing about using wet glue for a project like this. It gives you a little bit more time to get everything adjusted. And so I'm just going to add glue to the top half of my ornament because the bottom half is going to stick out, and then the little string on your ornament is not necessary to glue down, because once you glue your ornament down, that string will be just fine. So then I'm just going to line everything up, just making sure my ornament is hanging correctly. And I just use my tweezers to help me because this little string on the ornament is so small, so I have to be careful. And so it's easier to just use the tweezers to help me adjust it. So once we have the ornament front completed, I'm just going to add it to the gift box. Now this gift box measurements that I gave you, they are the largest measurements that will fit for this stitched circle. And so the size of this circle is 4 inches. So that I'm using a 4-inch stitched circle to create this ornament. And so the box, if you don't want to fussy as much as I have to with the box to make sure that it doesn't stick out, then you could go with a smaller box and, you know, just cut your measurements down for your box. So all we're going to do is very simple though, is just add some wet glue. And I really recommend wet glue for this because it does hold better. Since this is going to be hanging on your tree as an ornament with gifts in it. Also, I think the wet glue just gives you a little bit longer to adjust everything so that you can be sure that the box is hidden behind your circle. And as you see here, it is going to go from corner to corner. Circles don't really have corners, but hopefully that makes sense. The circle is going to go from corner to corner of the gift box so that it is barely hidden behind this circle. But you just want to be sure also that when you do this, when you add it to the box, that you have your ornament sitting, you know, straight up and everything lined up like you want it to hang. And then the back is really simple. You're just going to add glue to the back of your box. Now, I forgot to mention this. When you glue your box, be sure that your open part, your flat part, is to the top so that you can open your box and your items don't fall out when hanging on the tree. And then we're just going to add the back circle. And I just used a decorative piece of paper, so I'm not going to decorate up the back of the ornament. I'm just going to leave it like that. And on the back, I could add like a to and from tag if I wanted to. And so we're just going to add that circle, and then we'll just take our bone folder and go on in the inside and just press down really good so we'll make sure that our box is attached to the ornament really well. And so there is our gift box ornament, but now we need to add just the top of our ornament. So we're going to bring in the really small stitched circles. This is the smallest stitched circles, and I think they're around 1 inch. We're going to bring those in and add those to the top of our ornament. And if you saw my video the other day of my Grinch shaker tag ornament, we're doing the same thing. We're going to use this as the topper of our ornament. So I'm going to go ahead and punch the holes in them, and then I'm just going to add glue to the bottom half of the circle, and then I'm just going to attach one of them to the front of my ornament, and then the other one I will attach to the back of the ornament. So when you attach these, you do want to make sure that your hole punch that you made is to the top and that everything is just lined up straight. I'm trying to line, since this paper that I'm using has straight lines, I'm trying to make sure all the straight lines line up. Now on the back, there is no straight lines, so I'm just making sure that everything lines up straight as far as the hole in the center. And I can use the lines on it to make sure that they line up straight, but they don't have to line up perfect with the back. And I'm just making sure now that I have these across from each other because I'm going to run my thread or my ribbon through the holes, and so I want to make sure my circles do line up. So just hold them out and make sure and just adjust them. By using wet glue, it gives you a little bit longer to adjust them, and give this glue plenty of time to dry before you add your ribbon and add it to the tree. So I'm just going to come back with some ribbon and tie a little bow, and I think this would make a cute little gift for your mailman or for your UPS driver. You could put some treats in it, have it hanging on the tree, and when they drop off packages, you could hand it out to them. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I will link below to all of the products that I'm using from Cat Scrappiness. And I appreciate you using my affiliate links. It really helps out my channel. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.